So welcome everyone to our third workshop focusing on selling online. As I said, it's great to see some returning names, I would say faces, but again, keep those videos off. What are we doing here? We are looking into the field of online sales, e-commerce, payments, logistics, the whole thing. This is very much born out of the COVID-19 pandemic, which forced a lot of businesses to move online. And for many entrepreneurs and business owners, this is a completely new or underexplored territory. And so in an unprecedented time when you got limited resources and a lot to consider, we thought we'd just go and cover this anyway for you and help you get that leg up. So the first session we did, for those of you who were there, we looked at e-commerce and very much an introduction, defining it, what is it, what are the types, and why should you be considering online sales. In our second session, which we did about just over 2 weeks ago, we looked at digital marketing, campaigning, and customer relationship management. And today we're going to be looking more practically into the various ways that you can showcase, sell, and ship your products using digital solutions and online platforms and a whole range of different options. Today with me, we got a great expert lineup of our panelists, including Ché Köhler, Shabnam Osman, and Lars Veul. I'll go into a little bit more detail of who these people are shortly. But just so everyone is aware, we are recording the session. And sorry, I'm just going to quickly mute you, Joel. Sorry. Today, like I said, we will be recording the session and we will be sharing it with you after the event, so that if you know of anyone that hasn't been able to make it today, we did get a few emails from people who were keen, but unfortunately had other arrangements. You can share this with them, they can watch it, they can learn, and they can benefit as well, way beyond just today, the hour and a half that we have. So again, the purpose, COVID-19 forced many businesses online. Now you got to start looking at online sales as a new medium to make revenue and to generate an income as a business. And this is one of the key aspects of knowing how and where you can go and how to actually run the whole process. So these very much workshops are brought to you by the UK South Africa Tech Hub. I should introduce myself as well. My name is Dylan. I do not mind if no one remembers me from last time. But I work at a company called The Loudhailer, and we're a strategic comms and stakeholder engagement company based in Stellenbosch and Somerset West. And we pretty much have partnered with the UK South Africa Tech Hub to put on these workshops. Now, the Tech Hub forms part of an international network of tech hubs that are run by the Department of Digital, Culture, Media and Sport under a UK government mandate. There are multiple tech hubs all over Africa, in Nigeria, and Kenya, and Ethiopia. And their role is pretty much to help facilitate the local ecosystem, to help get it going, connecting, engaging, communicating, very much to give them the skills, resources, and support they need to really turbocharge the entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial journey to the next level. So moving on, what are we going to be covering today? Well, first we're going to be speaking to Ché. He's going to be giving us a bit of an intro into getting started with e-commerce. So now that you know what e-commerce is, what are the different platforms and avenues that you can go to do online sales? Then we're going to be looking at processing payments. And this is very much where Shabnam from Yoco comes in, and she's going to be saying, okay, great, you've got your product online. Now, how do you actually process that payment? And how do you get, how do people pay for it? You're not going to be working with cash traditionally. Finally, Lars will be covering how to get those goods to the consumer. So once you've got your product online, you've paid for it. Now, how do you actually get it off of that storefront into the hands of the consumers? Each session is going to be about 20 minutes. And then a couple of chirps and quotes from me in between. And we're going to finish it off with a Q&A session at the end. Ahead of that, again, feel free. I want to know where you're from. Please let me know who you are, your business, your field of business, everything like that. And if you have any questions, please type them in the comments and we'll collate them and we'll answer them at the end. I'm just going to, again, just one last reminder, please keep your microphone and video off until the Q&A session at the end. It would just be great. That way everyone can hear, no one gets distracted, and we don't have to backtrack for the sake of timing. So, rules of the workshop, again, keep it all off, ask questions in the chat, and this will be recorded. Our first speaker today is Ché Köhler. He is the co-founder at Nichemarket, which is a free business to consumer social marketplace and matchmaking platform. He's got loads of years experience in the field of e-commerce, and he's worked at some of South Africa's biggest e-commerce giants, including Kalahari, Travelstart, and the Foschini Group. He's got a knack for marketing and a keen eye for digital nuances, and brings a strong blend of strategy, creativity, and analytics to projects. And as an added benefit and skill, he can take apart a business and a website like a Rubik's Cube master and put it all back together again. Our next speaker is Shabnam Osman. She is part of the Yoco product team since 2018, and she currently leads online payments at the company, where she's focused on helping merchants find new and simple ways to accept payments and grow their business. She's spent the last 15 years building products and tools to help people navigate the complex world of money, and she started her career at Allen Gray, where she spent more than a decade focused on helping people understand and manage their money. In her private time, she has 2 little boys who keep her grounded, busy, and entertained. Our third and final speaker for the day is Lars Veul. Lars is the co-founder and CEO at Pargo. For those of you who don't know Pargo, they're a smart logistics company on a mission to enable e-commerce growth in Africa. And this they do by creating accessible, affordable, and convenient delivery across the country. Prior to starting Pargo, Lars was part of the founding team at Groupon in the Netherlands, where he was responsible for e-commerce. He then joined Groupon in South Africa in 2012, where he headed up the operations logistics team. And in addition to this, he is also an Alibaba eFounders Fellow and an Endeavor Entrepreneur. So really great to have him there. So with that in mind, let me pass it over to our first speaker, Ché. If you want to just take control and you can share your presentation on your side, and I will mute myself and you can get us underway.
A second. Just let me know if you can see everything. I've taken control now.
Yeah, I can see. Handing over to you.
Do I need to show my face? Because my video is not working for some reason.
For the sake of if you've got if your internet's a bit dodgy, don't worry about it. Rather we can hear what you're speaking about rather than we don't need to see you. It's all right.
Okay, cool. So let me get started. So how to get started with e-commerce in South Africa? So e-commerce is still in its, I would say it's still in its foundation phase in South Africa. But I mean, the network effects are growing. Each day another South African makes their first e-commerce purchase, and it opens up the market to a new repeat customer. If they have obviously they have a good experience, they're going to want to do it again. It's just getting them over that first hurdle. And most of those first hurdles are done by the bigger players. They're actually laying the foundation for you, getting people comfortable with it. So when you come in, they already know kind of what to expect. And it's also kind of setting the standard. So if you don't give them the exact same experience, they're going to complain, and that's something you want to try and avoid. So if you should have done e-commerce purchases on other sites just to know what the standard is like, so you know what the customers are going to expect. Like these sites have been spending billions on logistics, payments, marketing, and educating local customers on the benefits of switching and convincing them to switch to e-commerce. And that's great for us as new guys coming in and smaller guys coming in, because we don't have to take so long to educate someone or spend so much money trying to educate them to get them to convert. So Africa is now around the 37th biggest e-commerce market in the world, with about $3 billion done in 2019, and it's growing every year. Year on year, you can look at the stats; it just keeps growing, and eating into the bigger pile, the bigger market of general retail. I would say the things that you need to consider when moving into e-commerce in South Africa, like I said, it's still in the education and building trust phase. So you don't know what kind of customer you're going to get. Is it an experienced e-commerce customer or a first-time e-commerce customer? So you have to kind of make sure that your educational information on how to create an account, to how to purchase, and your payment methods and all that needs to be available for the customer, so they can also ways for you to contact them for them to contact you. It's just to kind of push people through your conversion, because a lot of people feel uneasy when they're using a new website. They don't know what's going on. Every website can be different the way they push you through the e-commerce funnel, and it's all about trying to get them to feel as comfortable as possible, because obviously they're going to put in the credit card details. They need to feel like you're a legitimate place to do something like that. A lot of people also feel when they speak to me, it's that when they want to go online, they're scared of the fact that they're opening up to the whole country or whatever. And what I tell them is that it's not always the case that just because you're opening up in online doesn't mean you have to service every part of South Africa. You can focus on a specific LSM, or you can do geolocation targeting and make sure that you're only focusing on a specific area of the country. So you don't have to ship nationwide. Don't feel obligated to do that. You can just focus on your core demographics, and then build a solid market there instead of trying to service every customer that comes through your website. You need to also try and qualify customers. So African consumers are still very mobile first. More internet traffic comes from mobile. However, mobile shoppers tend to be window shoppers mostly. They do convert, but not as high as desktop shoppers. So what we see is a lot of users use their mobile, and then later on in the evening or when they're at work or somewhere where they can sit on a desktop, they actually complete the purchase. So there's a bit of a cross-device kind of purchasing, which you don't get in more developed nations, but in South Africa it's quite popular. What you also need to consider is the rate of conversion. So depending on your niche, you could convert it between 1% to about 6%. It all depends on your specific type of product. And so, for example, electronics might move at a different rate to leggings or jeans or something like that. So depending on your product, you need to find out as you go along what is the basic conversion rate that you're getting, like what's your baseline, and then you can move up or down from there, depending on the cost of advertising. So Africa also does have limited payment options. So it is something that I've seen payment gateway providers are trying to improve on, but there are limitations, especially with big ticket items. I mean, if you're selling something of 50,000 Rand, like a scooter or something like that, it's very difficult to get payment through, because banks are going to put it on hold. They're scared of someone making such a big purchase and those type of things. So there are things that you have to consider depending on the type of products that you're going to sell. And then online reputation comes at a premium. So if you are an unknown brand, you're going to pay a bit more to convince the customer, or either in time or in money, to get the person to convert, where as a bigger brand, you kind of already established that trust factor, and they are able to convert the user much easier, just because of the trust in the brand. So that's something you have to look at. When you can't just assume that you're going to get the same type of conversion rate as a bigger box store with your new e-commerce platform. What I also like to explain to customers is that e-commerce is very much similar to normal retail. It's just that we've changed the way things are worded, and the digital version of the same thing. It confuses people. So I would say a storefront would be your website. Your customer service and customer service reps would either be replaced by chatbots if you have them, helplines, or your social media accounts. A lot of people go through social media accounts for customer service. It's easy to message someone on Facebook Messenger or Instagram. Merchandising, which you do on your shelves and your window dressing. This would be your conversion funnels and the way you merchandise your products and trying to get people to push them through to checkout. Walk-in customers is what you actually want. It's the same thing as because that walk-in customers have a bias towards you. It's the same thing with the site. What you eventually want to have is direct traffic, people that actually go to your site directly to try and buy. And then just like in a real estate, location is important, whether you're in a mall, whether you're in a shopping street, it's the same thing with online. The online reputation is your real estate. So either your Google rankings, your Google ads placements, or your social media presence. These are the real estate factors that you now have to work with in e-commerce to try and get in front of customers and get that walk-in traffic. E-commerce is not, a lot of people think it's like a set and forget type of thing, that it's like a Kevin Costner Field of Dreams, to just build it and people will come, but it's not actually the case. It's hard. It's just as hard as traditional selling, and to be successful, it's also constant work and reiteration and working with the customer, listening to their feedback and optimizing and seeing where they're getting issues and trying to improve your service over time. So, like I mentioned before, there are different types of e-commerce methods of selling online. That I try to equate them to what we do in traditional retail. Like I said, it's all about the type of real estate that you have. So if you have your own website, I would equate that to a standalone store. An e-commerce platform, you leveraging their walk-in traffic. So I would say it's more like having a store within a mall. Online marketplaces, because it's not about you, it's about the product, it's more about it's more of a kiosk type situation. And then direct selling, I would say, is like social media channels where you actually got the customers are all there. You literally just knocking on their door and in their comments and in their DMs, trying to get direct selling going and getting the email addresses maybe or the phone numbers through social media and doing direct selling. So with e-commerce, there are a few ways of doing it. I mean, if you want to dip your pinky in and you don't feel like you're ready to have and manage your own site, there are e-commerce platforms that you could use to get started. What's nice about these e-commerce platforms is they have the technology already, and they have the traffic, and they have the customers, and you can set it up with little or no friction, just the way you would set up a Facebook or Instagram profile. You set up a profile on maybe one of these sites like Etsy, eBay, Buy, or you could set up inside Takealot as a marketplace provider, or Hello Pretty and have your own little mini store in there. And all you need to do is follow the prompts. They have a team that will help you. You can contact them and they will help you with any issues that you might have. A marketplace is a good idea to test the e-commerce model if you're not yet, like I said, if you're not yet ready to have your own site. So you could set up, say, for example, an Etsy store or a Hello Pretty store, and then list your products, and then start marketing that link to your different providers and say, you can also buy from us online. Whether you could pop them a link through WhatsApp or email or whatever. And those platforms will take care of the whole onboarding process and the person creating an account and buying from you and things like that. There are obviously limitations to this, but what's nice about it is that it's simple for someone to get started. You don't have to have technical knowledge, and you're also leveraging a trusted retailer. These brands spend millions on advertising and building a brand. People trust them, and people buy them all the time. So when they see a product on there, they feel like they've done the due diligence on the product, so they feel more comfortable buying a product via e-commerce platform. Considerations, I would say, is like I said, it is easy to use, but there are trade-offs. The trade-offs would be there's limited room for customization. So there are going to be ways that they want you to style your product and set up your product fields and things like that. There's not much control over messaging. You can only put certain text certain places, and you can't really get an advantage on another seller. You might also need budget for advertising, depending on if it's a crowded niche and you're all selling the same jewelry. You might need to have a budget for advertising to just differentiate yourself from other sellers. Like I said, there's a level of competition in your niche. So I always encourage people to, if they're going to sell on the e-commerce platform, one or many, it doesn't matter, to just go into the e-commerce platform and see what the other sellers are selling, what kind of competition you have there. Because if you're in a platform and you're the only provider, you're one of 3 providers, you can kind of dominate that niche and get more of the traffic and sales that way. You also need to consider the fees per platform, because they are providing you with the service. They are going to charge you per sale. So go into each platform and see if their fees will not eat into your margins too much, and if it makes it worthwhile. You don't just have to force yourself onto every platform. Pick the one that you're most comfortable with, and you can always expand it. And then if it gets to a point where maybe you're on 5 platforms, you can offset the loss on one platform with another and at least move stock. Then it's also about managing these platforms, because each website is different. So you'll have to manage each platform differently. Like if a product goes out of stock, you'll need to make sure that it's removed on all sites. It does add multiple complexity to your selling online if you are doing multiple platforms. But like I said, you want to get as much reach as possible. Then you must also think about the cost of acquisition of a customer versus your margins, if it is worth it. In certain sites like your Etsy and your eBay, if you are willing to sell on across borders, you might have to deal with Forex. That can also be a pain with the African banks, which is something you need to consider. And like I said, it's not a set and forget thing. You'll need to be managing these stores actively. changing product descriptions, removing products from stock, maybe changing pricing to try and be competitive and attract users, because users are coming to these platforms every day, and you're not doing active marketing, but it's very subtle type of marketing. And you'll watch, they'll give you data in these some of these apps give you data to see how many product views you get and how you can use that to optimize your listing to try and get some more traffic and maybe some more sales. If you're not interested in selling internationally and you want to use local marketplace sellers, there are a few available, like buy, localize, Take a Lot, Hello Man, and Hello Pretty, depending on your niche. These marketplaces focus, while they're nice about them, they focus specifically on South African traffic. So if you are just going to sell to Africans, you know that you won't get any sales that are not, you won't fulfill, and you'll have to cancel, and that's a bit of a mission. Like I said, these also, it's about trust, and these brands are building trust locally. They've got the online reputation, they've got traffic, and you can leverage their local branding to sell your products. It also adds more of a reach to your product. So maybe your product is not that well known, and you can sell between various local sellers to get them, to get them aware of your product, to get them involved in thinking about your product. And maybe as the interest peaks from these sites, you could have a direct option as well. So people could, if they've bought from Take a Lot, they could maybe come and buy from you directly in future. It's just exposing yourself to the audiences that come through these platforms, and increases visibility for your product, and it also increases availability for your product, because you think about it, you are now stocking your product with these various stores. So it's like being in different malls. So local sellers are a great way to try and get started without too much friction. There's a bit of research, like I said, that you need to get into. Like I said, competition in your niche, like locally, for this one. And with these platforms, people can instantly comparatively shop. So they can look at a product that you have and compare with different service providers. So there is a bit of fickleness about the customer. They can window shop as much as they want, and they can decide which product they want or which service provider they want to use, because they don't often differentiate between the different providers. They differentiate between the product and the price. So that's where you have to be very smart about how you set up your products and the descriptions. The more information you provide, you tend to encourage the customer to opt for you, because you're more open about your product and you give them more information. Again, your customer acquisition costs and margins need to be considered. You don't want to be selling things at a loss if you can help it. And like I said, you have to weigh up things like the cost of a third-party sale via them versus direct sale, and if it makes sense, if you're willing to eat into your margins to move some stock. And then also dealing with third-party delivery and storage processes, because some of these platforms, they might require you to, in the case of Take a Lot, to have your product stocked with them and going through their delivery service, whereas with other platforms, it could be you could do it yourself. It all depends on the platform's different terms and conditions. Another consideration is you also have no control of your audience. Like I said, if you were specifically wanting to focus on people in Gauteng, with these platforms, they just need to bring anybody from across South Africa. So if you have to be willing to service queries sometimes outside your local area, and then you also have no control over what the vendor does. I mean, how they serve your product. So if a person does a search result on Take a Lot, you have no control over if your product comes thanks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's a bit of a limitation to that, and you just have to hope that the things that you have done to your product pages are enough to convince customers to convert. Then there are also things like shopping aggregators, like Price Check. So a site like this connects different e-commerce sites to their database and then serves it to the client. So say, for example, the client is looking for an iPhone. They could type it into Price Check, and it will give him all the vendors and the different pricing. And Price Check is the leading shopping aggregator at the moment locally, and it pulls in like millions of products, and users can instantly comparatively shop. And yes, they are a bit fickle because it's based on price. So there's a bit of a race at the bottom in terms of some products. So you'll have to know when to call it quits in terms of just pushing you below your margins or very close to the margins. Pricecheck also charges a fee because what they do is they source traffic through various marketing channels, and they divert people to your website. So, for example, the iPhone. Someone clicks on the iPhone, they see your price is the cheapest, they go to your site. When they click off Pricecheck to go to your site, you're paying Pricecheck for that click. So you'll need to have a budget for that and kind of manage it and see if it's worth the traffic coming from Pricecheck versus the sales that you get. You also need to have an e-commerce enabled site to do this already. So like a Shopify site or WordPress site that can connect with Pricecheck. Like I said, the budget for the pay-per-click advertising you'll get from them. Users will instantly come shop. So if you are getting a bulk of the traffic from Pricecheck, don't think that it'll always be that way. Competitors are going to try and undercut you where they can and try and get some of the traffic from Pricecheck, and you'll have to manage your cost per acquisition and your margins that way. So there's another platform that people don't often think of as e-commerce, but I consider it e-commerce or classified sites just because you don't do the whole payment process online. Doesn't mean it's not e-commerce. You're still servicing people and you're connecting with people online. And that's considered traditional e-commerce. You're still connecting with people. Classified sites also offer you like a wide range of customers. You don't really have control over all the customers that come through classified sites like your Gumtree and your OLX and your Facebook Marketplace. But what these sites do is they give you a lot of traffic. It's quantity over quality, and a lot of, say, for example, in the case of Facebook Marketplace, a lot of people use it because they can leverage their social bundles on the service provider like Salesy. So they tend to sit on Facebook Marketplace and try to find products to sell and products to buy and things like that. Like I said, there's a lot of traffic coming through these sites, so you have to be vigilant. Not everybody's a customer. Some people are just going to be time wasters. Some people are going to be scammers. So you have to kind of be vigilant on how you profile customers that come through there. They're going to be contacting you through a manual process. It's not like when you're putting ads on these platforms, they're going through an e-commerce process. They can either be contacting you by phone, email, or WhatsApp, or Messenger, depending on your contact preferences. And you have to manage these ads, these orders manually, as well as these ads, because the ads expire. So you have to keep doing it over and over. So you'll have to focus on, is it worth your time? Like cost per lead is worth either your time or worth paying for ads within Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or OLX. Like I said, it is low quality traffic. It could be low LSM. So depending on your product, if you're not targeting low LSM, you might want to give this one a miss. But there are people that obviously there are high LSM people that do use these platforms, but they're few and far between compared to the vast amount of people that are on these platforms. You'll constantly have to engage with the user. So someone that comes through a Facebook Marketplace or a Gumtree or OLX, there's a lot of work that's involved in, like, people want to ask what the options are, what the payment methods are, and you have to be very strict on these type of things. So a lot of people fall out of your funnel that you define as the safest funnel, but you have to stick to it. Yes, it's painful to lose a fish that's on the hook, but sometimes it's better than being scammed. Like I said, it's also time consuming, so you also have to weigh up, like, is this worth my time to push this customer through, or maybe I should just, if you have a direct e-commerce platform, what you can do is just send them the link and convert them through your e-commerce platform instead. What I also think is worth your time when you're using these platforms is building up a direct database. So you are engaging with people through these platforms, and then get their email address, get their phone numbers, like send them a link, get them to subscribe to your social media. So now you have direct contact with them, so you don't have to go through these platforms. And once you start building up your own little database, you might not have to leverage these platforms as much in the future. They can just be something that you do on occasion to give you a little bit of a boost. Eventually, or maybe from the beginning, you'd like to have your own e-commerce site, it's gotten a lot easier in the last 10 years. It used to be really painful, and you need to know to have a lot of technical knowledge. But now there are cool e-commerce platforms that specifically focus on the small business. We call them CMSs or content management systems. These tools allow you to set up a website. They'll manage a lot of the things, the technical things. They'll even deploy updates, so you don't have to worry about those things, like in terms of security and features that the site might need. And what these sites do, like WordPress, Webflow, Shopify, Magento, they allow you to manage your website. Obviously, you'll have a front-facing website, manage your stock easily. You could upload Excel sheets for your stock and your pricing to upload them. They help you manage your orders and send emails out to customers when they order or when they return something, or giving you details. They have automatic form completions and tracking and things. And what the best thing about these e-commerce platforms is they capture a lot of data, which marketers like myself love. We look at the data all the time and help sites convert the users that they do get. Depending on your technical level of expertise or your budget, you'll have to go for one of these various options. So for example, if you are more of a technical person that want to be hands-on with your own website, I would recommend something like a WordPress, because it's an open source platform and you can just go wild. You can install all sorts of software that you want, and it connects with so many third parties, like if you want to use MailChimp or Mailgun or things like that, you can connect them with. The other platforms, they are much more closed platform. They will give you the preferred service providers that they like to use and integrate with, but it does make it really easy to use. The layouts are much simpler. Magento, I'd say, which is an Adobe company, they're much more, if you're interested in if you're going to have maybe a number of branches that you service from locally, as well as an e-commerce tool, that Magento is a much nicer interface to manage a bigger e-commerce platform. But what I always say is no CMS is perfect. There's always going to be trade-offs. There's always going to be technical issues. You just need to pick the one that has the least limitations for your current state. You may have to use one e-commerce platform now and you'll outgrow it later. Don't feel that you have to be tied to your e-commerce platform. You can always migrate it later stage as you get bigger. But what you want to obviously do is have the most affordable and easiest to use platform from the beginning, and then it services your customers best and your product and niche best, and then you can take it from there. Also, if you aren't technically too savvy, depending on your CMS, you might want to choose one that has a lot of service providers that maybe locally or internationally that provide you with support. If you have questions or you have issues, they can help you out and take a lot of the strain off your view. Whereas with something like a WordPress, you kind of on your own, or you need to get a developer in to help you. What also you need to consider is when you create a site, traffic is not guaranteed. You still need to go out and create traffic. Whether it's through social media, paid marketing, organic traffic through content marketing or SEO. Just because you have a website doesn't mean you're going to rank onto Google search, you get in front of the people that you want to get in front of. So it is going to be the second part of, once you have your CMS up, the second part is making it a more marketable service. Some of the sites, like I said, are easy to use and some have a steeper learning curve. So you need to take that in consideration, like how much time do you have to sit and figure out how this thing works? Do you want to manage it, or do you want to get an external service provider to manage it? From simple things like adding products and changing pricing and making landing pages for promotions and things. Do you want to do that yourself, or do you want to get someone else to do it? But it all depends on the CMS that you choose and how much time you have and willingness to work with these platforms. And then obviously, like I said, compatibility with third-party providers. So when you're choosing your CMS in the beginning, make sure that it is compatible with your payment method that you're going to use. If you're going to use PayFast or PayU or something like that, if you're going to use MailChimp, or if you're going to use one of these delivery providers or things like that. So just make sure before you choose your CMS, or consult with the e-commerce professional that can help you and advise you on like a package that will work best for you. What we do at Nichemarket is we have a business directory and classified ads platform where it's absolutely free. We allow anybody to list their business. They can promote their business with free ads on the site. They get up to 3 ads per month. And we're just giving them additional visibility through the traffic that we generate. And then we also offer digital marketing services and consulting for e-commerce as well as lead generation sites. And then if I'll share these blog posts with you, we also give away free information on our website and our blog about e-commerce. So there's articles about how to get started with selling on e-commerce, how to create an e-commerce friendly and SEO friendly product detail page, emails that you would like to set up, automated emails that you'd like to set up for e-commerce, how to choose an e-commerce platform and those type of things. And if you want to get in touch with us, I'll leave you with all my contact details here. Thank you.
Thanks, Ché. So I'm not sure if if it's just me. I didn't see the slides change towards the end there, but again, we will be sharing all this information with people at the end. So we'll make sure we can send out the contact details for you. Thank you so much. It's actually so interesting. I love the point about Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree being. Oh, I see. Yeah, Ché, do you want to just send or write your contact details in the meeting chat? I see some people are asking for it there, so you can just in the meantime put it in there. And again, we'll share them at the end with everyone who's attended. But again, it was so interesting when you think about Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace. That's kind of where I think I go and sell my secondhand furniture and old PlayStations and things that I don't really need anymore. But it's not somewhere where I think about actually being as a marketplace to sell goods in that way. So it's a very interesting point to make about that, and it's one I guess you do notice. I mean, now I was sitting here thinking, actually, wait, I have seen people and businesses use those sort of platforms to sell, and it's just not one that jumps straight to your mind, but it's such an accessible one, seeing as how many billion people are on Facebook, for instance, and Gumtree, anyone can post an ad. So yeah, really, really fascinating. Let me just wrestle back some control from you. Otherwise, actually, before I do that, Shabnam, are you happy to just quickly take control, and you can share your slides in the meantime? Saves us going from me then to you.
Yes, sure.
Awesome.
Let me figure this out. Okay, got it. Hi everyone. Very happy to be here. Dylan, it was funny when you gave your intro in the beginning, and you were talking about how quickly everyone had to adapt to e-commerce. I always get nervous when someone introduces me as like an expert in this area, because like everyone else, I had to very quickly figure out all of this online e-commerce stuff at the beginning of the year. So yeah, myself and Yoco are still quite new to it. I learned so much from Ché's talk. That was awesome. Like just looking at all those different options and platforms, there's quite a lot of choice out there. Yeah, it was really nice to listen to. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna work. I can't see the time. It's 22. So I'm gonna start off just to tell you all a little bit about Yoco and payments in South Africa, just for those of you who don't have context about the company. So Yoco is an African technology company. We are building tools and services to help small businesses, to help businesses get paid, to run their business better and to grow. And we really believe that by opening up possibilities for entrepreneurs to be successful, we can create more jobs, enable people to thrive, and really help to drive the economy forward. We all know, and it's even more clear during this time, that there's such a massive gap for services and products that support African and small and South African small businesses. Small business in South Africa makes up 90% of the businesses, and are very key to driving a sustainable economic growth in this country. However, there really is a lack of tools and products, for example, products to help you accept payments and run your businesses. And many of the products that are out there are usually tailored to larger businesses, where there are quite a few obstacles and challenges for you to get access to them. And this is the gap that the founders of Yoco saw 4 or 5 years ago when they started the company, and they decided to start in payments specifically to try and close this gap. When you look at payments in South Africa, we're always speaking about the acceptance gap at Yoco, and this number has changed over the last 4 or 5 years, but definitely not as fast as we had hoped and anticipated. So the acceptance gap is the difference between the demand, people who want to pay with card, and the supply, businesses who are able to accept card payments. And you can see from the slide that I'm showing you that we have quite a high demand for card in South Africa. 75% of the people have card. This is a really high number. It's amongst top in the world. And South Africa has quite a sophisticated banking sector when you compare this to other countries in Africa. However, on the other side, 8% of businesses only can accept card payments. And if you look at the numbers that I shared with you earlier around like small businesses and large businesses, you kind of get a sense of where that 8% is coming from. And many of the reasons for this is the cost and the difficulty in getting card machines and different ways to accept card payments, which has resulted in still to this day. I mean, I'm sure if you look at the post-COVID numbers, it might be slightly adjusted, but still 70% of payments in South Africa is made in cash. And there's loads of reasons why cash is not ideal that I'm not going to go through today, since I want to get to like online digital sales quite quickly. But before that, our initial focus at Yoco was to try and bridge this gap and bring some accessible or high quality payment products to these underserved small businesses. So the image that you see on the screen, the little blue card machine, it's about pocket size. It's something that you've most likely seen popping up at markets. And this was our latest response to trying to bridge the gap. So for example, this card machine is something that you can get for 500 Rand that you can pay once off, or you can pay off weekly till you reach the 500. Compared to a traditional card machine that you'd need to go to a bank, you need to be a registered business, have some credit records, existing bank statements, and likely need to be in a position to sign a 1 year or 2 year contract with a monthly rental. And this was one of the ways in which we're trying to create more access and break down the barriers. And it's similar kind of thinking that we've started taking in the online space, though we are quite early in the curve in that space. So after card payments, what we realized is that although there is definitely a gap in accepting card payments for small businesses and entrepreneurs in South Africa, card payments is just the first step to formalization. So it kind of gives you your ticket in so that you can like play in the space. With accepting card payments using the Yoco machine or Yoco online product, you've got an additional level of credibility and legitimacy with your customers, particularly if you're unknown or you're a small business, or like Ché mentioned, you're perhaps selling on a Facebook marketplace. It's the trust factor is a two-way thing. It's for you to be able to trust the customers because they're strangers, and it's also a factor for the customers to feel comfortable trusting you. And card payments from like a strong payment spread helps in that. Though, like I said, it's starting to give you a foot in the door. What we definitely realize as beyond card payments, small businesses really need quite a bit of support in managing and running their business, which is why we started augmenting our product in the later years with business tools. So those are free software to do basic stock management, get some business intelligence so that you can see how your payments are doing, your top products, your busiest days, those kind of things, and some integrations into third-party software, and also working capital. So within 30 days of transacting, you're able to qualify for working capital from, I think, about 2,000 Rand up to 200,000, depending on your business. So that's, I think, kind of give you a sense of Yoco, the company, and how we're thinking about payments and small businesses in South Africa, and trying to find ways to support them. When you start thinking about digital payments, what I loved about Ché's presentation is that he covered so many different options. And that's why I said I learned so much. I've been thinking quite black and white about it. So I'm like, you've got a website and you don't have a website. Ché added quite a bit of color to that. So there are like lots of little slices in between. But when I think of a typical sales journey, and it is quite simplified, these are the things that you kind of need to tick off when you're looking at your business and you're going, cool, the customer needs to know that your business exists and needs to know the products and the services that you offer. And that's largely the space that Ché's been talking about around like how to get your name out there, thinking about your advertising, your SEO, optimizing, location, like where your business is at and how people find you. The middle piece on the slide is around the payments transaction. Yes, I'm biased because I'm coming from a payments company, so there's a lot more bullet points in this section than the others. But the way I see payments is it's not just a matter of the transaction. There are quite a few steps. So the customer needs to ask for the good or the service. Then you need to let the customer know what amount they need to pay. You want to track an order because it's in a digital environment. The customer ends up paying, and then you want to know that the money has been paid. And this, you can apply those 5 steps across all of those different platforms that Ché chatted about. And they have different forms, but those are all the steps in my mind that I always think about when I think about the things you need to tick if you want to sort out the payments part of your online business. And then the last piece is that I'm providing the goods or services. And that could be delivery, collection, using a courier, doing it yourself. And that's what Lars will cover in a little bit more detail later. I've bolded 2 items here because when I looked at this last night, it was a last night realization, is that, and I think Ché touched on it also, is that the online sales journey and the online business model, it's quite similar to in-person or brick and mortar with a couple of nuances. And those two items that I bolded are the 2 pieces that I found in chatting to merchants, are the tricky pieces that you want to get right in the online digital space. And that's quite new and not as important when it comes to brick and mortar, which kind of makes sense, right? When the customer's in front of you, it's quite instantaneous between like requesting the good and paying, and you can see everything happening. And in a digital space, just by the fact that the customer is not in the same place where you are, it makes the tracking and the reconciliation way more important and critical to give you comfort. Okay, so I actually struggle with these online presentations because I can't get a read for how things are going. So Dylan, if there are any questions or like either boos or yays, please let me know so that I can get like a sense of how things are going.
No, it's going great so far. Great so far.
Cool. Okay, so if we deep dive into that payments piece of the sales journey, so the one that I'm biased towards. So if you look at these 5 steps, 1, customer requests goods or services, right? So the customer needs some way to tell you, this is what I want to buy from you. This could happen. Actually, before I get to them, so customer needs to ask you. You need to tell the customer the amount. You want to find a way to track the order. Customer will pay in a way that suits them, and that's very important. In a way that suits them. So I want to come back to that. And then 5, you know that the money's been paid. These can cover any sort of online or digital payment method. So I'm definitely going to be changing the slide the next time I do it to make it look way cooler, like Ché's slides with all of those different pieces. But if you look at kind of what I've put down here, so selling on social media, agree with Ché, like those Facebook marketplaces, Gumtree. Selling on WhatsApp for me is a big part of online sales. Without a website, WhatsApp is huge in South Africa. People, usually it's how you start when you want to try and test and see if something is a fit. So selling on social media, if you look at all of those steps, customers going to request via DM or on your post. You will tell the customer the amount. There might be a little bit of back and forth. Tracking a pending order, perhaps if it is something where you need to build something custom or do some sort of a supplier orders, maybe you've got an Excel spreadsheet that you're running it on or a pen and paper. Customer then pay in a way that suits them. Likely on social media, you're either giving bank details or you're saying cash on collection or delivery. And then you know that money has been paid. And when it comes to EFT, people pick one of 2 depending on their risk appetite and how well they know the customer. Either you go, I'm comfortable with you sending me the proof of payment, or if you're more risk averse or you don't know the customer, you say, I'll wait those 2 days for the money to reflect in my account. That's like a typical social media online interaction. The piece in the middle, I've included this because I just find this invoicing piece quite fascinating in South Africa. We have quite a large portion of online digital sales are happening through invoices and EFT. So similar to social media, perhaps your business has got a little bit more sophisticated. So instead of just sending the EFT bank details on a DM, you create a simple invoice either in Excel or in Word, or perhaps you're using some free software like Wave or Zero. And then likely you want to start moving to more formal channels. So you could take an order by the phone, but you'd email the invoice instead of just sending a DM on WhatsApp. And then similarly to the first one, like if you go through all of that, the customer's going to request it on the phone. You'd give the customer the amount with a bit more detail on the invoice. If you have invoicing software, you're probably tracking the orders in the software, so it gets done automatically, which is great. If not, you're putting it on an Excel spreadsheet. Customer would pay likely EFT in this case, as your business gets more sophisticated. And you'd know that the customer's paid with a bank statement, and then you'd go back and update your list of pending orders to mark it as paid. And then, of course, on the end, if you have a website or online store or an e-commerce marketplace or one of those, and it's like I said, it's an e-commerce business, a lot of that is a bit more hands-off, but customers would still go in there, request a good or service by adding something to a cart. Automatically, the website would present the amount. Orders would be tracked online. A customer would be given a choice. So this is where card payments typically come in. So customers could pay by card or EFT or instant EFT or SnapScan or QR. In some cases, some merchants still offer cash on collection as an option. And then if they are digital payment methods, pure digital like QR and card payment, the website would be able to mark the pending order as paid. If they are like EFT or cash, likely you'd need to go in and complete that piece. But like those 5 steps are really good. It's a really good way to think about it. I always think about it like that and go, cool. Always figure out for your business and the stage that your business is at and the approach you want to take with regards to your customers and the level of intimacy that you want to have and the volumes that you're expecting to see, and perhaps your business affordability and how much money you want to spend on software. There's quite a lot of factors that you're taking into account, but it's nice to sit and think about these 5 things and go, cool, what are my needs for each of them? And let me try and find the solutions that fit in a flexible way. And these things can move up and down. You could see that this as a continuum, and you can move through these levels as your business grows or becomes more sophisticated. Or actually one of these social might just work for you because you enjoy the back and forth intimacy because you're able to close a sale, or your products are more bespoke, or so, and you decide to stick to that rather than e-commerce. But it's quite nice to think about these 5 things. Okay, let me check time quickly for if okay, cool. So with keeping that in mind, I'm going to share with you a couple of the early online payment products that we've released. Products suited for if you have a website and if you don't. Like I said, we are also on this journey of e-commerce and COVID and like new consumer behavior and new ways of working. So we had started, Yoco started in dabbling in online payments, probably like middle to end of last year. And we started seeing a need. More and more of our merchants were asking us to help them accept payments in different ways, not just card machines. And we also started seeing many merchants do what we call like omni-channel, right? So something in store, but also a little bit online. And we really wanted to help them facilitate more payments. It makes business sense for us to accept more payments, and also for our merchants, especially when you're a small business and entrepreneur, dealing with with lots of different payment providers and paying lots of different fees and complicating your admin and your reporting and the recon becomes quite high effort and tiresome. So the idea behind finding like one payment provider can give you a little bit of a multiple channels just makes all of that easier. So we started dabbling in it last year. Come Feb, March, the world turns upside down, and we kind of needed to expedite some of that and learned a lot of lessons along the way, which I'm sure many of you have also. And we threw a couple of products out there to see what sticks, see how merchants are used it, and I've learned quite a lot. So I want to share with you 2 or 3 products, and then also share some innovative ways on how people have been using the products, and perhaps it might spark something for you in terms of what could or couldn't work for your business. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the detail here, but basically, I think a lot of the things that I shared earlier with card machines and like the philosophy and how we're trying to think about payments has really shaped online payments as well. So we are still making sure that like it's quite easy to sign up for online payments, actually even easier than a card machine. I should update the slide because sign up is quicker now. It takes 2 minutes, not 10. So, but yeah, you can sign up and take payments in 2 minutes. There's no setup fees, no monthly fees, no payout fees. You don't need to sign contracts. You kind of can just try it, see how it goes. We don't, yeah, and then actually, let me skip this. Let me get to the juicy stuff. This sounds like sales pitch. Sorry, moving on. Okay, so these are the 3 products that we launched in April of this year. Like I said, learned quite a bit and how people are using them. The idea is to accept payments online without a website. Okay, so the first one we call the payment request. This is a simple way to request and accept online card payments from your customers. So you go into the app, you can enter an amount, or you can set up your products and select your products, and then directly from the app share via WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, email, or any other channel that you'd like, and you share the request directly from the app. And it acts like a simple invoice, and that's how we've seen merchants use it. So loads of people, like social media sellers, what did Ché call it? I actually wrote it down, like he equated it to direct selling when you're selling on social media. Lots of merchants have been using this, particularly retail. So when you're selling clothing, accessories, as well as food delivery. So it's worked quite well for food delivery, which I thought was quite a cool thing that came up. Payment page is the second one, which I think has been, yeah, this one's probably where merchants have done quite a few innovative things in using this product. This is a simple, super flexible way to accept payments. It's a personalized online page. So you've got your logo, you've got your business name, and any customer can pay you any amount. So the customer will go on, enter an amount, add a reference, putting their names, email address, and pay by card, and you immediately get notified when the payments come through. And for the payment request as well, so all of our payment methods, you get an immediate notification from us to say we've got the payment. So the security aspect of that, I think, was quite nice in COVID. And then gift vouchers, which is a simple, like a typical digital gift voucher, which was quite a lifeline during COVID, particularly I think for like health and beauty. Gosh, all of those salons and businesses that needed to close for such a long time. This was quite a lifeline for people wanting to support and buy vouchers. Yeah, so what I'm going to show you, am I okay for time? Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit faster. Show you 2 things. One, I'm going to give you like just a quick video demo of how sending a request works, just so you can get a feel for it. I'm going to stop. Funky music is off. And yeah, so you should be able to see. So if you have a Yoco app, you'd come in, you'd enter an amount, or you'd select a basket of goods. You click enter your references. I should have made this bigger. Okay, the next one I'll make bigger. Enter an amount, send the link to your customer directly via WhatsApp. That's what the customer receives, like a little invoice looking product. They enter an amount and done. So yeah, so basically like I guess I'm calling it a simple invoice that you can send from your mobile. That's kind of like payment request. And this is something you could try and see. This works quite well when, like I said, you have some sort of relationship with the customer. They've already requested it and you want to ask them for payment. So it is a one-to-one. And if tracking and recon is very important for you, and you're currently keeping all of your orders on an Excel spreadsheet or on a pen and paper, this might be a simple alternative to help some of the tracking. What I haven't shown here in this video, so I need to update this video, is as soon as you send those links, we keep a list of those links in the app showing you unpaid, unpaid, unpaid. And as soon as it gets paid, it updates automatically to paid. So this product really helps some of the recon aspects. if recon isn't important to you and you want to give your customers more choice and find more digital ways and faster ways to accept payments as an alternative or even as a supplement to EFT, I've taken some screenshots of some merchants who have used the payment page in different ways. I just wanted to walk you through some of them. So number one, this is Cape Town Dive Centre, who in the early days of lockdown, they were still kind of open, but they didn't want to use the card machine. So you can see it, due to payment terminals being one of the most used items and completely spread the virus, they've only used the online payment link. So if a customer, the customer had a choice of either paying before they came into the store or when they were at the store, but all of their payments were being done during this. Importantly, you can see they've still given choice and they've told the customers to use EFT. For them specifically, because they had quite a lot, I think, of regular customers, they ended up, I think they said at the end they got like a 60-40 split between payment link and EFT during that time. So I think like keeping choice for customers is always important. Annette Skincare. So she already sends invoices on Excel. And she liked her Excel invoices because she had a lot of extra fields and she had a unique number. And she also wanted to give her customers choice still with EFT. So what she did is on her Excel invoice, she added the payment page link at the bottom of the invoice. And she would send it to customers and say, you can either pay this way or that way. Over time, though, as she started using it more and more, she eventually ended up taking off the EFT bank details and just leaving the payment link because her customer base was quite comfortable paying with card, and she preferred it because of the recard and notifications. And now she has moved, because most of her payments are on payment link, she has now stopped the Excel spreadsheet and she's using the Yoco app. So she's moved on for this payment page to the slightly more sophisticated payment request, and she's sending it in that way. And you can see from that, like, there are quite a lot of flexible ways. It really depends on you and your business and also your customers and which ways they prefer to accept payments. Gabriel, like, very cool. I think he was, so he was running virtual gigs, and he sent out this link for optional payments and the requests. So you could give a donation, or in the reference, you could ask a request for a song, and you could do it live. So as people were sending it through, they would give the donation, pay, and he'd see the reference for the song, and he could sing the song immediately, which I thought was quite innovative. Donations, so that's an open page. Is this a church? I think it's a church. Oh, I don't want to say it's a church if it's not. My Afrikaans is not that great. Okay, but that's donations. And this was someone running a raffle, which I thought was like crazy because it was a R1 raffle to give away 12 and an airtime. But he ran the raffle and actually got quite a few entrants using the payment page. Cool. So those, and so that's kind of like a summary of these. I'm not going to go into gift vouchers because it's kind of self-explanatory, but just ways to think about if you are not ready to have a website yet, or you are supplementing your website with other channels, how you could use these products to accept digital payments and card payments without a website. Of course, if you have a website, it's a more traditional way to accept payments. Alongside the couple of other payment gateway options in South Africa, Yoco also has payment plugins on some of the popular web platforms, and we're continuing to grow. And like they all stick to the same principles as before. Like we charge you for transaction fees. You can sign up within 2 to 5 minutes, no monthly fees, etc., etc. So that's kind of, that's kind of the traditional accept payments. I did have a video on this that I'm not going to show you because it's not like mind-blowingly profound. I'll also use the last 2-3 minutes to do other stuff. So just to wrap up, how I see like selling online and accepting digital payments, you can think of it as without a website. You could sell on social, on email, on a website. Those are all online payments, and you can take digital payments on all of those ways. Tracking your orders is really, really important for sales if you want to close sales, and for service if you want to keep track of bespoke products and services that you need to provide. So find a way that works for you. If that's paper or pen, fine. If that's Excel, cool. If you want a software to do it for you because your volumes are getting high, that's also fine. Think about what works for you and your business and the stage that you're at. Point 3, customers need choice. Although I am, of course, extremely biased to the benefits of card payments. Customers do need choice, and I've definitely seen in certain markets or sectors that different customers prefer methods, and of course at the end of the day you want to make sales, so provide them the choice that they need, but don't be afraid to encourage what you prefer and nudge people towards options. What some merchants do is they offer all the options up front. Typically in a website scenario you do that, but you could order them in the ones that you prefer. Or if you're doing something more hands-on on social, invoice, others provide the preferred method first, and then they have the other methods as a fallback on customer requests. Once again, it depends on the relationship with the customers and what type of business you have. But choice is important. Don't be afraid to encourage. Fourthly, is that a word? Yes. Get confirmation that payments have been made. Really, really important. Once again, this depends on your business and your customers and the relationship you have. But but just make sure that you get confirmation. Whether that is waiting 2 days for the bank, using card payments so you can get notifications. Make sure that you get the confirmation and that you're quite good at tracking whether orders have been paid or not. Lastly, all the best. If you haven't started your business yet, just start. I'm always quite motivated, inspired by entrepreneurs and people who are trying their own business. I'm not brave enough to take that step yet. Hopefully one day, but that's why I stay at Yoco, so I can get surrounded by people who do. And then I'm gonna, Dylan, do I have a minute?
Unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to give it a skip. I know we're running into Lars's time, and
cool.
I know
yes,
he
happy
has
for that.
quite a hard stop.
All right.
But thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
it's been very, very interesting. And again, please share your details. It's a lot of information to share there. So if people have any questions, they can get in touch with you. I mean, processing payments in other ways apart from cash and even without a website, it's going to be a long-term issue with COVID. Yes, we have vaccines in the works, but it's still going to be a long time before we, we're in a new normal, really. So any new way we can adapt online is crucial. But let me not ramble on. Lars, if you can hear me, you can take over, and we can get cracking. And I know we don't have a lot of time left.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I believe it was 20 minutes each, no?
Yeah. So.
No worries. Let me share my screen. Cool. Okay, guys, I'm gonna touch base a little bit on the logistics bits. I'll try to run through it quickly. So I am co-founder at Pargo. Pargo is a company that's trying to create accessible and flexible delivery to enable e-commerce and commerce growth in Africa. So what we basically are is two things. We are a technology company. We've created a smart logistics platform. This is a platform on which you as a business can sign up and have access to different delivery services. And important part of our business is that we've added a network of parcel pickup points that we use to get the parcels in the hands of the consumers. And although we have many other services on the network, on the platform, I mean, the pickup point network is really what makes us stand out. What's really different between us and other businesses. Maybe also just to quickly explain what we're not. We're not a courier company in the terms that we don't have our own drivers, we don't have our own trucks. But we integrate different courier companies on our platform. So when you use Pargo, you have access to different courier companies, different services, and as I said, the most important one being pickup points. Cool. So I think you guys received a lot of insight into e-commerce and into how to set up a shop, how to manage the payment side. But obviously, it is not online shopping if you don't have a delivery. The whole idea about e-commerce is that people can order their goods online and then get them delivered either to their house or to a pickup point. But that's the gist of it. And the challenge and the reality is that delivery is actually quite a big problem in Africa and in South Africa. It's not easy, and I would say it's often not going well. And I think it's one of the main reasons why still a lot of people don't buy online. So getting the delivery right is super important. At the moment, we really see this as the biggest limiting factor to e-commerce growth on the continent. And that is because of the following reasons that I've highlighted here. So the first true reality about this continent and about this country is that a big portion of the population lives in areas that are not easy to. If you live in a township, if you live in a rural town, in a small village somewhere, but also if you live in a housing estate, all these areas it's not always easy for couriers to just go there and deliver. This limited access is also caused by the fact that there's a lot of address problems. There's a lot of areas like townships where there is not a proper address, right? The postal code system in South Africa just doesn't make a lot of sense. So there's a lot of issues around delivery, and these are real problems, and we're all trying to solve them. Another problem is cost. Delivery in Africa or in emerging economies, especially in Africa, is about 2 times more expensive than a delivery in a country like the US or in Europe. So on average in Europe, delivery would be about 7 to 8% of the total delivery cost. Here it can go up to 15%. Sorry, of the total value of the product. So that's really that accessibility is one very big issue, and then another big issue is convenience. So the reality is that most e-commerce companies, most companies in general in South Africa still only have one delivery option. That's just a delivery to somebody's home. There's no options there. And then lastly, it's reliability of service. A lot of people are not at home. So let's say that the address is right, the cost is not too bad, people are happy with that one option, and then your courier company tries to deliver and they're not at home. So on average in South Africa, courier companies need 2.3 attempts for every successful delivery. So as you guys can see, it's not easy, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And as a business, we're trying to solve a few of these problems, but I'm not going to go too much into our business. I'm going to go more into the industry in general, and just kind of take you guys through your options. What can you guys use, and how can you make this work? So when you think about delivery, I've tried to keep it simple. There are quite a few delivery options you can use, but I think the first big decision you have to make is, do you use home delivery or do you use click and collect? And I would advise you guys that obviously when you start simple and start with one, but at the end of the day, it's also about what I said, it's about flexibility, it's about giving people options. So you don't have to choose for one, you can choose for 2. I guess when you're smaller, you have to make a bit of a decision, but eventually you can use different delivery options. But the first one is home delivery versus click and collect. So the one is that you deliver to somebody's address, and I say home delivery, but it can also be a work address. And the other is that you deliver it to a pickup point where they can collect it. Let's just first look at the left side, right? So you have, on the home delivery side, you'll have basically 2 big options to make. Do you work with a courier company, or do you work with an on-demand company? So do you work with a business like FedEx or Courier It or RAM, businesses like that? Or do you work with a company like Pickup or OneCart or Zulci, right? Those kind of on-demand deliveries. Courier companies have nationwide coverage, but typically you use them, it doesn't go to the consumer as quick. And then on-demand is mostly in the main cities, and it's a bit faster. But you also have click and collect options, and obviously that's allowing the consumer to get a parcel delivered to a pickup point, or something that we just launched is a drive-through pickup point, where people can actually just go to the drive-through, park the car, get the parcel, put into their boot, and leave, and that's it. The difference is really speed and cost and convenience. So a courier company, most courier companies will give you a reasonable rate. It's a bit slower. On demand might be a bit faster, but it's a bit more expensive. Pickup points typically is seen as cheaper because you can consolidate and you can go anywhere in the country for lower cost. And drive-through pickup point is obviously because of convenience. So it's really up to you to make a decision on what you want. And there's many different companies out there that can give you these solutions. Then just some practical things to think about in terms of setting up your logistics and your last mile and deliveries. And that is 3 things that I've put in here. I think there's much more to think about, but for now, I just want to stick to 3 things, and that is cost, warehousing, and integrations. So I'm going to go through cost. I have a few slides around cost, but let me just start with warehousing and integration. So are you going to use warehousing? How are you going to do that? Where are your parcels going to go to? The big businesses, when I say big businesses, I mean companies like Clicks and Foschini Group, obviously Takealot, One Day Only, all these big companies, they have proper big warehousing systems, which are not, as a small business you can't pay for that. But there are companies out there like Parcel Ninja and On the Dot that offer warehousing solutions for smaller businesses. Or do you fulfill from your garage or from your store or from whatever you have? So that's one thing you have to think about. 2 is integrations, and Ché went into that a little bit in the beginning. He described very well all the different systems and platforms that you have out there. You also have to think about how you integrate. Do you want it to be a manual process? Do you want it to be a fully integrated process? One of the big, I think, challenges, if I go back to this slide and I look at the unreliability, it's the reality that a lot of the courier companies in the country are not the best in terms of tech integrations, right? They're good at taking a parcel from A to B, but to have a proper integrated solution is not always easy. So think about that as well. Think about how you're going to get integrated. But most importantly, I think is cost, and is just one very practical thing everybody needs to think about is how does costing work and how do you calculate it and how do you make sure that your costing makes sense. So costing is based on 2 things. It's based on where the parcel goes to, so the geography of where are you sending to, and the size and weight of the parcel. Obviously, a delivery into Santon is cheaper than into Pofare. So the further away you go, the more expensive it becomes. One of the things that has always and still kind of irritates me and pisses me a little bit off is that whenever you guys go and speak to courier companies, you'll get a rate table and they'll give you costing that that even people in the industry have at some points. It's with surcharges. Be careful about that. What they basically do is they break up the cost in so many different elements that at the end of the day, when you deliver, and what they'll do is they'll come to you and they'll pitch that a local delivery is going to be 25 rand. But what they don't tell you is that there's a surcharge for every other little thing you do, and you end up paying much more. So be careful about that and look at that and make sure that you understand that. But the simple way of explaining it, obviously, is that almost all couriers will give you, all logistics businesses will give you different rates for different areas. Most of them are called local, main, and regional. So local is Cape Town to Cape Town. That's cheaper than Cape Town to Johannesburg. So Cape Town to Cape Town will be seen as a local rate. Cape Town to Johannesburg will be seen as a main center rate. And Cape Town to Pofare will be seen as a regional or even rural delivery. And obviously they all have costs, different costs. So look at that and be careful about those costs. And then the other one is size and weight. That's also super important, right? The bigger your parcel, the more it's going to cost you. Cool. So let's jump into that. Size and weight. I guess the classic question: what is heavier, a kilogram of feathers or a kilogram of steel? And the answer is they're just as heavy in terms of weight, but they're not as heavy in terms of size, right? So how does one calculate weight? What all couriers do is that they have something which they call a volumetric weight, right? So your parcel is 1 kilogram in terms of actual weight or in terms of volumetric weight. Most of the things that most e-commerce goods, most products, the average is always going to be under 5 kilograms, and most courier companies, most logistics businesses use 5 kilogram as a base number. It starts from 5 kilograms, and you pay more for every kilogram thereafter. So again, look at that when you're signing up with a courier company. but it's about the volumetric weight, right? So it's not that if you are selling a pair of shoes, which doesn't weigh that much, that it's actual what it weighs. There's also a size thing. And the way the size works is that there's a formula to it, to calculate that volumetric weight. The formula is, it's the width times the height times the length of a parcel in centimeters and dividing that by either factor 4,000 or 5,000. So as an example, if you have a parcel that's 25 centimeters wide, 30 centimeters high, and 25 centimeters long, you have to multiply those things, divide it by 4,000, so that parcel would be 4.69 kilograms. And that's important because, again, your base rate that you've negotiated on is probably going to be 5 kilograms. So if it goes a little bit over that, you're going to have to pay the thereafter rate, an extra cost per kilogram. So I think important to just keep this in mind and look at this when you're signing up with a courier company. Cool. And then, yeah, the other two I think I've discussed. So the three practical things, guys. I think just kind of to wrap it up, is logistics is not easy. There's a lot of problems. It's probably the number one reason why somebody will not come back to your e-commerce website because something went wrong there. Make sure that you choose the right partners. Think about things like speed. Think about things like geography. Think about size and cost. Think about options, as I said. Make sure that your end user gets the options, that some of them can choose a home delivery, some of them can choose a pickup point. But I think it's all about creating a convenient service to your end user, making sure that works. Cool, that's me.
Awesome, thanks, Lars. Let me just take back screen sharing on my side. 1 second. Thanks so much again. Yeah, very, very informative, very insightful. I mean, especially as a person who's used courier services, not for business-wise, but in terms of getting products, never really known the difference or how to calculate it, and I always get quite upset and annoyed when I feel like I'm being overcharged. But it's very important, considerations you listed. Do you for instance, do you have warehousing and things like that included? And sorry again for the quick spacing of in terms of shortening your presentation length. If anyone has any questions, we got about a couple of minutes. We do have a hard stop at 1:30 the latest. So while we are here, let's if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them into the comments section. We'll present them. But the one I had very much for all three presenters is this it's all doing all these online processes, but one thing that is still a major factor as well. I mean, Lars, you mentioned, for instance, the networks and infrastructure, and just in terms of addresses is quite difficult for shipping goods. And when it comes to processing payments, yes, a lot of people have mobile phones, but in many cases, another thing like data is a great inhibitor. And then, of course, things like the digital divide, just, are people comfortable using digital platforms? And above all this, once you have them there, is how do you actually also encourage trust into your service, an online service? For many people who have not grown up with these sort of things or have not experienced them, it can be quite a terrifying thing, not really knowing the person on the other side of your sale, and there you go, you send them your product and you hope that it all works. So do you have any comments on what is the fundamental first few steps that you should do towards building trust when it comes to selling online, paying for things online, and actually shipping via these digital solutions?
Sure. I mean, I think trust is gained, right? So the reason people don't trust is that they think something's going to go wrong. And I think the two things that everybody is afraid of going wrong is payments and delivery. And I think that's because in the past, I think Ché said that very well, is that in the past things have been going wrong. And I think over time, with companies like Takealot doing such a good job, things are going well, right? So you buy something online and you realize that your payment actually just works. You can put your credit card number in there and it's not going to, it's not a fraud, or there's nothing wrong with it. I think that makes a big difference. And then the parcels being delivered on time within the promised time frame, right? So companies like Yoco, like us, like many of the other payments providers, logistics businesses, are all trying to innovate in this space and trying to ensure that trust is being gained. So I think the trust factor, although I understand it very well, I think the answer to that is that somebody needs to do it, and they need, you know, somebody buys once, and that's what has happened this year with COVID. Is a great example is Checkers 60/60. I know the guys behind it. It was, you know, it was like they were not expecting COVID to happen and this kind of growth, but all of a sudden, everybody in the country, you know, is buying online, is using Checkers 60/60 app, and because it's set up so well and works so well, people are trusting it, and now they're using it more often, right? But I've also heard some people that where it went wrong for because they ordered, you know, a pack of milk, but they got a bread instead of their milk, right? And those people are complaining straight away, right? We'll never use it again. And that's the reality. Make sure that if somebody buys from you, that you deliver what you promise. Don't sell products that you don't have. Don't oversell, right? Like just deliver what you promise, and people will stick to you.
Sure. Lars, I've got another question for you from Kathy. Kathy, also thanks so much for your very lovely and kind message. But Lars, can you talk a bit about shipping overseas? Are there bulk operators, and can one do like a weekly shipment and then have the shipment disaggregated and shipped on the other side?
Sure. So overall, no, it's just a simple answer. There's not that many people yet focusing on that. It's like one of the opportunities we're looking at as a business. That's two ways, right? So then maybe first, as a consumer buying online from companies like Amazon and Alibaba, I think we all know the horror stories, because often those parcels still are getting handed over to the post office and you just never see it again. The reality is that there's still the big guys that are focusing on this, that are good at this, the DHLs, FedExes, those kind of guys. And the reality, it's not very cheap. So you end up paying quite a hefty premium to get it overseas. But the market is growing, so you will start seeing that. I think over time, also there, you know, other companies will start jumping into that space and ensuring that price goes down.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much, Lars. I see Kathy's also asked if you have some contact details you can share, or someone at Pargo who'd be a relevant authority. If you could, if you wouldn't mind leaving that in the chat, then she can reach out. I think, yeah, we got a minute to go. So I just want to thank all of our panelists or speakers, Lars, Ché, Shabnam. Thank you so much for your time. I know you guys are all very busy, and November is quite a manic month. Everyone has so much going on, and I know, Lars, especially you, the Christmas season coming up, you must be very, very busy. So thank you very much for making the time to speak to us today and for sharing all your insights. We really, really do appreciate it. Just to remind everyone, we have been recording the session and we will be uploading this to YouTube, and we'll send you all a link when it's up there. We'll also be creating a post-event playbook where we're going to be taking all the notes from today's session, putting them into one document and sharing them with you. There have been a few delays with regards to our other playbooks. Unfortunately, there's been some internal issues, but we will have them to you ASAP. Our next session and our final workshop will be taking place in about a couple of weeks, early December. And this one's going to be really unpacking some more software and solutions. We're going to be looking specifically at WhatsApp for Business, otherwise Facebook for Business Manager, things like Google Ads, also invoicing payment, invoicing software such as Xero and QuickBooks, and things like Hootsuite for your social media. So we're going to be unpacking all of those. But we'll be sending out more details for that. Otherwise, thank you so much. Thank you again for giving us all your time, your questions, your attention. We really appreciate it, and we hope you be able to walk away today with something new, something that you didn't know. I know I have. So thank you again, once again, Lars, Shab. Really, really appreciate your time, and thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.